You know, if you kill eagerly, people are gonna lose their minds.
Well, then they'll lose their minds.
Yo, what the fuck? All right, Peacemaker fans, here we go. Like Keith in the Night is the title of episode 7 of the second season of Peacemaker, which shit has just hit the fan. The world, the dimension is unraveling before Christopher Smith. Harcourt saw it within minutes of being there, but now we know what is going on. It's Nazi-occupied America, and Peacemaker is not going to have it, and something is up with this episode. Where does it go? How is it going to end? What is going on with the DCU? So many questions. If you're not caught up with Peacemaker and have not watched episodes 1 through 6, hit that pause button right now. Go and watch them. I'll see you in a few hours because we are going to talk spoilers. My name is James. Thank you so much for stopping by. If you're new to the channel, a fan of Peacemaker, and looking forward to the future of the DCU, hit that subscribe button because I talk about it and discuss it with you all forever and ever and ever. And let me know your thoughts on Peacemaker Season 2 in the comments down below. What are your expectations for episode 7, like a Keith in the Night? Mine are, look, the episodes have been very short so far. I'm hoping for a longer episode. Look, I am somebody who enjoys short episodes. I am on record as saying that. But last week, when it all went down, I looked at the clock on my wall and I was stunned to see just how short that episode was. It was like 37 or 39 minutes long. Just absolutely stunned to see how short it was. James Gunn addressed the length of the next 2 episodes, or at least the final episode, on Threads, saying the following. He got asked by this question here: are we by any chance getting longer episodes for the last 2 episodes of the season? James Gunn said the last one is longer. So I guess that's a positive sign. Shout out last week for this meme right here. Unbelievable how fast the internet works. This is fantastic. Great episode though, right? Yeah, it left the 11th Street kids in shambles, and we're going to get into that. But it also, like, Rick Flag Sr. is now very vulnerable. He's relying on Lex Luthor. Criminal mastermind Lex Luthor is someone he is now relying on. I'm going to have another video around tomorrow probably that's going to discuss that a little bit further. Have a lot of fun with that idea. But he's relying on Lex Luthor. There's not a partnership between Argus and Lex Luthor. And that's obviously going to have huge ramifications for the future of the DCU, including the future of this series. Episode 8, I think, is where it's going to go with that, so I won't touch on that too much for episode 7. This is the episode 7 pre-game show. I have a lot of fun doing these. At the end of the episode, I will go through James Gunn's curated playlist and talk track by track. Now, I did my teaser trailer breakdown a few days ago. You can check that out on the channel. Today, let's talk about this episode specifically. The synopsis for episode 7, like a Keith in the Night, reads: when Peacemaker's dad and brother discover that he's an imposter in their dimension, they turn on him, all while the 11th Street kids attempt to bring him home. Very, very basic. A lot of people are theorizing that brother Keith will once again meet his demise, most speculating that it'll be at the hands of either Peacemaker or Harcourt, Amelia Harcourt, that is. So people are speculating it's going to be one or the other. I look, in the Keith of the Night, we got to talk about this title, about its meaning, and what I think will come from it. The title is clearly a play on like a thief in the night. So what does that mean? Let's ask Google Gemini. Like a thief in the night describes something that happens swiftly, stealthily, and unexpectedly without warning or being seen. It is often used to emphasize the element of surprise and lack of preparation required for an event. Key aspects of the phrase: suddenness, the event or arrival is not anticipated or planned for. Stealth, the arrival is quite unobtrusive, making it difficult to detect beforehand. Unexpectedness, it comes at an hour when one is not expecting it. Lack of readiness, the phrase implies a situation where people are caught unprepared for what is to come. Looking at that, my guess on this now has completely shifted. I have been on that train that, yeah, perhaps Peacemaker is once again going to have to off his brother. That's what I thought. But let's look at what I just said. Think about what I just said. If Keith approached Peacemaker, Harcourt, the 11th Street kids, all of them, stealth mode without warning, we wouldn't have got his entrance in the trailer, in this teaser trailer. I don't think we would have gotten it. I'm starting to speculate, and let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. I'm starting to speculate now that maybe Keith is not that bad. In the comics, the original comics, Captain Triumph has to merge with his brother, his dead brother, to become Captain Triumph. What if Keith actually is not bad in this universe? He seems to genuinely care about his brother. And he also, look, we also don't discuss enough that Auggie Smith has not been around much this season. We haven't seen much of him. He's always been lingering, right? His effects have been lingering a lot, but we haven't seen much of him. So I'm curious if Keith is actually not on the same team, if he's not playing ball with his father, and maybe he suspects that his brother isn't as well, but they're not exactly seeing eye to eye, and they're not talking about it, because obviously if you aren't playing ball with what they're living in, then you are a terrorist essentially, and they don't want to be seen as that. This is just, again, speculation on my part based on the title. I have been thinking until this point that Captain Triumph, that his brother Keith, was going to be the villain of this series. Also, the Brandon Davis podcast, the Morning After podcast, mentioned that next week is going to be David Denham, and his group, his people, said that episode 7 was the episode that he should be on for. And James Gunn kind of clarified, yeah, that's the one. That's the big one for him. So something big's going to happen. He might die. He might be the big bad. He might die. I'm not saying he's not going to. It's very possible and, quite frankly, probable. But given the title and what we've seen of the show, there's a chance that that is not what we think. Also, there's a shot of Harcourt that I brought up in my trailer breakdown where I'm like, who is she? She's looking at somebody, and I suspected it might be Rick Flag Jr. But what if it's Captain Triumph? What if somebody is trying to come through and Captain Triumph comes in and saves the day? That, like, there's a twist right there. For the most part, this season, what James Gunn has been offering us has come through. Like, we've all suspected Earth X, and we got Earth X. But what if we're all suspecting these other plot points, and he turns the table, he turntables them on us, and they are something completely different? Now, David Denham, who plays Captain Triumph Keith, said, you know, James Gunn added 10 years to his life because of the shape that he got in and all that, and the character he was playing. So what if he is not the villain of this series? What if we are led to believe? What if this teaser showing Auggie Smith and Keith approaching Peacemaker and Harcourt, what if this is not the case to be? We know that they're going to fire their missiles at each other. We know that a big war is happening between these characters. But what if it's against each other? What if Keith is not actually the villain of this saga? What if Keith comes to Earth 1 and joins the 11th Street Kids and joins Argus and joins the superhero team in our dimension? Look, is it far-fetched? Maybe, but crazier things have happened. We had a starfish destroy Corto Maltese, for crying out loud. Things can happen. This is, again, pure speculation. But we know where this season ends. The DCU rightfully begins, and bringing a character like Captain Triumph in might be a part of all that.
Why'd you come back here?
Another big part of this trailer, the teaser, is Auggie Smith saying, why did you come back here? Fans have been speculating that there was a mix-up at birth or a switch at birth where Christopher Smith went to our dimension, the other Christopher Smith was in this dimension. My belief is this refers back to episode 1 when Auggie Smith sees Peacemaker in his dimension, in his tighty whities, and when he says, hey, and Peacemaker runs back through the door. Auggie Smith knows about that door. Whether or not his sons know about that door in this dimension, I think they do. I think that's why Peacemaker in Earth 2 was able to follow him. But whether or not they know remains to be seen. But I think Auggie Smith knows, and I think there's a deeper, darker play there with him and that dimension there. And this could lead to this dimension merging with our dimension, coming in and infiltrating our dimension. This could be a big key to all of that. The other thing I was thinking with Harcourt's expression in that trailer is, what if it's Rick Flag Sr.? What if it's people from our dimension and they're going to shut that portal tight and they're going to keep the 11th Street Kids, the characters that we know and love, and they're going to shut them out in that dimension and keep them in that dimension for the safety of the world, of the United States, of the world, as Rick Flag always loves to play around with and tell us that's what he's in the mood for. But really, it seems like he really has this vendetta against Peacemaker. He positions it that he's not, but he's a very manipulative figure, and I'm not sure I'm on his page anymore. And Frank Grillo, you're fantastic, but I don't know if I trust you. James Gunn also said, I believe it was on the Morning After pod, that Judo Master was in a lot of trouble. We're all speculating, a lot of people are speculating, I shouldn't say we, but a lot of people have been speculating in the comments that Judo Master is going to be the one to save Economos. Some people are calling him a goat, and he's going to save himself. That's fair. But people are speculating that Judo Master is going to be the one that saves Economos. I don't think this is the case. I think whatever Judo Master is in, he's in deep. He's in very deep. If you see him in the teaser, he's not in it for much. He's kind of just on the side of some shots. He doesn't look like his jovial self. No Cheetos, depression mode. That's where it looks like Judo Master's in. I think he is in a lot of trouble, like James Gunn said. I think we're going to witness that. Him and Adebayo might be in the same room locked up together. I'm not really sure where they're going there, but I think Judo Master's in a lot of trouble, and we're going to see him vulnerable for the first time since season 1. It's going to be really, really tough to watch the stuff with Judo Master. I think he's going to bear the brunt of this universe. It's going to be him. Adebayo, I don't know where we're going with Adebayo still. The end of that episode, her running from the zombie apocalypse of white people, like there's something there, but we see her again, but she is injured. We do see that Adebayo is going to be injured. How that happens, I'm not sure. Where this goes and how this gets to the partnership between Lex Luthor and Argus. Really, I think we're going to learn that more in this episode. I think Sidney Happerson's going to come back, and that's where they're going to discover everything. And Argus, I don't think Argus is going to be in this episode much. I don't know the length of the episode. I searched for it. I could not find it. If the episode's 25 minutes, we're not going to get much Argus. If it's like 45 minutes, we're going to get much. My guess is we're looking at a 41 tops minute episode, maybe 43. We're around that ballpark. That's my guess for this episode, which is going to lead into probably a 45 to 50 minute finale, which sounds short, and it is, but I think that's where we're going to get. But as long as they hit the marks, I'm not going to complain about it too much. I think we're in for a very good time, and I can't wait to see where we're going to go with that. Again, I think Eagly is going to save Economos. I talked about that in my last video. Judo Master, he's in deep, but I really hope we get to see a heroic side to Judo Master. And for me, I've mentioned this since my review of episode 6. I think a lot of Charlton Comics characters will be making an appearance here as the Sons of Liberty. I think we're going to learn that because the Vigilante side of things, we see Vigilante fighting the cops saying, "Get away, you pigs." Which Vigilante is that? We don't know. They're obviously going to split up. I think they're going to come to an understanding of a Peacemaker from our dimension versus this dimension that they're in. And they're going to say, hey, we have to get them out of there. Oh, there's a better world that we can exist in, and it actually exists in another dimension. We got to figure this out. I think there's going to be a lot of liberating this one. But again, I think this season is all about learning to love yourself, and this dimension being what it is going to teach us that. I have another theory video about Rick Flag Jr. and Peacemaker. Some people on board, some people not. I think we're going down that path, though. I think Rick Flag Jr. is going to be back in this episode. I think he's going to be a big part of this episode. I think he's going to be part of Sons of Liberty in this episode. And I think he's going to have some kind of a connection with that dimension's Peacemaker, whether it's the one I speculated on being romantic or not. I think they're going to have some kind of relationship. I think Peacemaker in that dimension, like I just suspected Keith, might not be on the side of the government. I think he might be on the side of the Sons of Liberty, but he can't convert over there. Or maybe he's a double agent. Maybe Keith wants to be a double agent, or maybe Keith realizes his wrongs in this episode, because I do think there's going to be a moment when Peacemaker, Keith, and Auggie have a realization and a discussion about why he assimilated himself in that universe, and that might change Keith. That might change Keith's tone on everything. That might be that aspect. But I do think the substance abuse problems, the disappearing a lot, I think this is all correlating in the fact that Peacemaker was not 100% on the side of the world he was living on, but he couldn't change side because of his love and affection for his father and his brother, which we know from our dimension. He had the same one in our dimension. I think he has it there, and he just does not agree with what's going on there. This is where I'm going with it. Your comments, feel free to write them down below. I want to have a discussion with you guys because it's fun to discuss it, right? We're right, we're wrong. We're going to find out. This whole thing's going to wrap up in 2 weeks, and we're going to know all the answers, and we're going to have a great time discussing it until then. All right. And of course, Nazis are everywhere. Who you going to call G.I. Robot? But James Gunn isn't playing ball with us, I don't think. In an interview with Entertainment Weekly, here's what he had to say. Entertainment Weekly says, "I can't even imagine, does this twist mean we'll get to see G.I. Robot in live action?" And James Gunn says the answer to that question, which this is going to be all anybody talks about from this interview, is yes, but not necessarily when you think you're going to see him. So not necessarily Peacemaker Season 2. So is James Gunn saying no without saying no? Or is he saying yes, but saying no? Like you're not going to see him here, but maybe you will, I'm guessing this isn't going to be the time nor the place for G.I. Robot. I think Man of Tomorrow might be where we get G.I. Robot, but this is not going to leave inside. This again, look, we have to remember as we watch the show, this is Peacemaker's show. As much as it's the DCU and all these things are connected, at the end of the day, this is Peacemaker's show. So if G.I. Robot, if the storyline doesn't allow itself to involve GI robot, that's not where we're going to go. Now you can argue, but James, it's about Nazis. Of course it involves GI robot. True, but again, it's about Peacemaker and the 11th Street Kids and that tight-knit group and the relationships that they have. And so getting GI robot in there might take away from that, and that not be where we're going. Now, Nazi America might come into our dimension or might have pose some kind of threat in our dimension, and that's when you bring in GI robot. GI robot is clearly coming. James Gunn, he's not saying he's not coming. He's adamant he's coming. It's just I wouldn't get my hopes up over Peacemaker Season 2. That being said, the best way to divert our attention from this happening is to tell us not necessarily this season, and then it happens this season, we're like, hiya! So, he might be coming. James Gunn every week releases his curated playlist. Let's get right into it. This week on the playlist, he has once again Oh Lord by Foxy Shazam, Still Pretending by First Signal, We Can Never Die by Veins of Jenna, and Goretek Weather Report by Shining. Once again, The Shining are back. What could these songs mean for this episode? Oh Lord, of course, the opening theme. I think we discussed this enough. Every week it's the same thing. It kind of parallels what we're watching. Still Pretending by First Signal, meaning this is a melodic rock track about putting on a mask, hiding feelings, and keeping up appearances while suffering underneath. This fits perfectly with Peacemaker's dual nature, the macho front versus the broken man inside. We Can Never Die by Veins of Jenna. This is a raw sleaze rock anthem about defiance, immortality, and reckless abandon. It screams, you can't kill us, we'll live forever. Gore-Tex Weather Report, meaning this one is dark, avant-garde, chaotic, blending jazz, prog, and black metal energy. It's about surviving in hostile conditions, coldness, and unpredictability. It gives off pure dread. Gunn might use this one in the climax. This could underscore the darkest sequence of episode 7, maybe the big Sons of Liberty confrontation or Keith's potential Vader moment where the music amplifies the unsettling, chaotic vibe. A lot of people are expecting Keith having a Vader-like moment. We're going to see. I'm so flip-flopping on Keith right now. I think he's the big bad. I thought he was the big bad. We're all suspecting he'll be the big bad this season. Maybe he's not. Maybe he's on the side of justice, and maybe he's coming to our dimension. Maybe he's coming with Rick Flag Jr. Maybe he is. Time will tell. I'm excited to find out where we're going to go. Let me know your thoughts on this episode in the comments down below. I will be back tomorrow with a Lex Luthor video. I'm looking forward to that one. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. I really appreciate your time. Hit the like button, subscribe button. Until next time, may be the master of your own universe.